Sure.
Well, let's bring in the absolute. You know what? Hold on, Doc. Hold on. I'm gonna do him right today. We are joined by the founder of Detroit Sports Podcast, host of Doc and Jock, the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast, publisher at Lions on Sports Illustrated, a new YouTuber, and one of the best content creators in the city. His name, Detroit Podcast on Twitter or X, is second to none. He is Doc John Maakaron.
Come on.
Doc, how we doing?
Yeah, that's
go,
how
Doc.
you intro someone. That's how you make someone feel good after a long-ass week. My God, who's the other guy that's on the show tonight? I know Lucas and
Hey, Doc, this is appointment TV. I only showed up because you were here.
yeah.
Listen, when Jacob said he had a rash on his groin, I felt really bad. I hope he recovers pretty bad. When you get a rash like that, I was like, I didn't know how to handle it when he told me. So I hope Jacob, if you're listening, I hope you're okay, man.
Wait, Jacob. Oh,
Yeah. No,
Oh.
yeah. He
no, Doc. Oh, Doc, you don't know what you
This
just
guy
did.
is incredible. Doc, I mean, this guy's fucking incredible, man. The great John Maakaron. Let me ask you, man. All right, just you did a great job covering today. Obviously, the rookie minicamp, which is a big time, especially for Lions fans. You get to see some of these rookies suit up. Let me ask you first with Ahmed, because you had the clip of him talking, and then he had a bunch of great clippable moments today. But can you speak to this? He seems like, when I said it earlier, it seems like he's what you're seeing is what you're getting. He's very genuine. He plays with passion. He has a purpose. Can you talk about Ahmed and kind of just like the day he had today? I mean, he was pretty much everywhere with all the quotables. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great to talk to him. And I get excited when someone with that much energy talks to the media. You can tell his excitement level of being there. And I wish I could talk to him one-on-one, but he got, one of the most popular dudes there. Talk to all of us together, talk to the free press, talk to AP. Then when it's my turn, got to go to the meetings. But he had been talking to the media for a good 20 minutes. So look, good energy. High energy player. I think he's going to have an impact. Look, he understands the fundamentals of the position. You can see he was calling out what he needed to. The checks were great. You saw the fluidity, the movement. It was great to see. And what I like about a player like that is you can tell he's humble enough to say, a reporter asked a direct question. He's like, hey, are you, being young? Are you getting yelled at? Are you getting like this kind of tough coaching? And he looked right in the reporter's face, eye to eye, and said, I don't mind it at all. It's something that I want to get better at. I want to meet my potential. And I just thought that the way he's composed, it was great to talk to him. And I just wanted to ask, I wanted to know, like, okay, based on your first couple days, why do you think like this is going to be a fit for you? And he said, look, I'm gritty. I like it tough. I want to be able to learn and grow and develop. And he's starting at a spot where you would expect a 6th-round pick. All right, you got the fundamentals of the position. You know what you got to do. You got the right work ethic. Now take the tools from Casey Rogers, take the tools from all the coaches, and grow your craft so that by the time camp hits, you're ready to hit the ground running. So his first introduction is an A+. I think everybody's look, you can just tell with certain players that they're going to be drawn to other people. And I think the fans are going to grow to really respect what he does. And I think they're going to take the journey with him. But understand, too, a 6th-round pick is going to take time. He's not going to jump in and record 20 sacks in the first year. He's going to take time. And I think battling the Detroit Lions offensive line is going to help him develop pretty quickly. And when you got the starting point of a hard worker with the talent that he's got and the background that he has, knowing what I know about Middle Easterns, it's going to be a great journey to follow. And I can't wait. Like the what I wanted to say with the start was, there's like a tease being out there. You're like, man, we don't get to go back out there for 2 weeks. I want to go right back out there tomorrow.
Oh.
And for the relative who potentially is listening in, I could potentially have you on the podcast as well. But I'm very proud of the familial support that Ahmed has. And I think it's going to be a great support for him, especially when you're new to a new town. He's going to immediately gravitate toward Dearborn and the community as well. So I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far, and hopefully a chance to have him and his family on to learn their story, because when Middle Easterns unite and have a conversation, it'll be a nice party.
Hey, come on, Doc. And you bringing him up, and you brought up the offensive line. Tate Ratledge doing a little bit of work at center today, obviously going to work at guard. Just kind of what did you see from Tate? How did he look out there compared to some of the other offensive linemen? Jeff brought it up. Big boy out there rocking that 6'9". But what did you take away from Tate Ratledge on day one?
Yeah, no, first and foremost, you get to see where they're going to line up. And to see him under center, yeah, I wasn't surprised, but it's still, I thought the first couple snaps I'd see Miles Frazier there. But to see him there, looks fluid, understands. Look, he's got the presence. He looks like an offensive lineman, and he looks the part. So you're gravitated toward him. I watched him and Miles Frazier, and I'll talk about an undrafted free agent in a moment. But I like what I saw. I walk away from at least the hour and a half that I spent watching going, okay, I'm comfortable with the offensive line and feeling like, okay, when you go and target an offensive lineman in the second round, you realize, okay, this is a player that can play probably both guard spots. And now you want him to kind of start to learn center. Man, that presents a very much a unique opportunity for the Detroit Lions. I can't wait to see the competition. Like I said, it was just a big tease. I want to see the whole roster. I want to see Tate battling up against Tyreek. Unfortunately, we didn't get that chance because Tyreek only did a couple of team reps before he headed to the hill and did some individual work and stuff like that. Pretty limited. But for Tate Ratledge, I do think that what you're going to see is somebody that will be very much a player that has a strong competition to start day one. I just feel that. You can see just based on his size, speed, you recognize if you're starting him off at center, that's not an easy spot to get cross-trained. And he hasn't done it too much. So I'm curious to see when OTAs hit and when training camp does come to see where he's at with the calls, if he does do a little bit more at center. But man, when he gets there at guard, when he pulls and when he opens up some lanes, man, it's going to be fun for Jameer and the others when you see the lanes that he can create.
Hey, real quick, Doc, kind of a follow-up question off of that. Do you think that Tate, to start for this offensive line at guard, it's specifically going to be at right guard, or do you think that there's a chance that he could be moved to left if Graham Glasgow is playing better at right, or do you think that if Tate Ratledge is on the field, it's going to be at right guard?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people are wondering if Christian Mahogany is going to be at left guard. I just think Graham Glasgow, it may be tough. Like when you say starter, maybe the first couple series you give Glasgow and things like that per se. But I do think Ratledge is going to make an impact and have an opportunity to play guard sooner rather than later. It could be very, very much day one. But to me, I saw Christian Mahogany at right guard. I thought he did pretty well. So I'm kind of leaning towards left guard for Ratledge, but it could be interchanged. It could be at different spots. So I do like the idea that a lot of the linemen are getting cross-trained, and Mahogany is going to be the outlier, is going to be the X factor. How he performs in camp as well will determine a lot of things. But yeah, I do think that Ratledge probably is going to start at guard either side. And I think that wherever he ends up, it's going to be the battle. It will be the battle of camp to watch. Graham Glasgow versus Tate Ratledge. It's going to be interesting. Miles Frazier in the mix too. We saw him at right guard as well. And then the undrafted free agent I want to pay attention to is Mason Miller. This is a tackle that came undrafted free agent from North Dakota State, and now the new tight ends coach is from there as well. He's 6'7". Excuse me. Saw him at right tackle today. Definitely was handling the Calvin Shepard was being aggressive, sending the defensive lineman quite a bit, and he held his own. Good footwork, anchored pretty well. Solid footwork for a man that big. Pay attention. If that's day one for Mason Miller, look out. He could be one to watch as a player that could make this roster because he can play all 5 spots along the offensive line. He's got size and a little bit of nice speed there. Nice ability with his hands as well, trying to maneuver. The defensive linemen were coming after the tryout quarterback. It was good to see some of the efforts of the offensive line, especially since I was watching it very closely.
And Doc, I want to ask you about one of the 2 new wide receivers in Allen Park, Isaac Tesla. How was he fitting in? Were you able to speak to him? And what kind of role do you expect for him? Obviously, it's still early. What kind of role do you expect for him to have in this offense?
I'm sorry. One more time. Someone in the chat called my attention. One more time with that.
Oh God, no. It's
Nah,
all good. Isaac Tesla, were you able to speak to him today, and how was he fitting in Allen Park, and what kind of role do you expect for him to have?
Whew. And my takeaways at Lions on SI, my goodness, it was the Isaac Tesla show. It was on offense. It's been interesting the way that the last couple of years rookie minicamp has kind of been scaled back. You have basically a tryout quarterback that's not going to see the roster. So we didn't see a lot of passes early on. So we were all like, the Packers reporter told me the same thing. He was funny. He was like, I went out there with so many stories and they didn't throw a single pass. And the Packers did not throw a single pass at rookie minicamp for the media. Luckily, the quarterback was once the team period started to hit outside of the walkthrough, he was slinging it, and he was slinging it to number 18. And look, here's the thing. And that's why I always laugh that friends don't let friends play cornerback. A 6'4", 6'3", 6'4" receiver against a 5'10" corner is almost laughable. I try not to laugh in like outwardly, but it just looks funny. Like he just outmatches anybody that's trying out for the team. And he was pretty quick. He was off the line. He was getting the balls. He was getting the targets, catching. Of the first three offensive plays that were passes, he got 2 of them, and he looks the part. And here's the deal. He is also a player that also the fine points of the game he's going to have to get better at in terms of against better competition. He's going to have to, Ray Agnew said it, and when you watch film, you see the same thing. He's got to, route running's got to be better in regards to crispness, depth of routes, stuff like that. But that's all stuff that's going to develop. Dude's got the moxie. And when you turn on the tape, the ball, when the football is thrown near him, he catches it. And it looks like he's got a great range of catch radius. He's got the one thing I'll say is, maybe the speed is not going to be, JMO-like, but not too many are. But I do think he's going to be a crafty receiver that I think that if he does end up being what you're looking for, you're looking at a younger, slightly better version of Tim Patrick, and that can be a great thing for this offense.
Well, Doc, I want to ask you too. Tyreek, he didn't participate today. Can you just clarify that it's not injury related, and it's more so the Ohio State thing, them playing so long into the season, and just kind of, I want your expectation. What's a fair expectation for him his rookie year? We talked about it a couple days ago, me, Lucas, and Boone, kind of what we expect, and I think the biggest thing I went through was just his run defense to be on display, and then I think he's got some pass rush juice, which Lucas kind of notably has been on for a while here, but. What can you just clarify the situation with him and what are fair expectations heading into his rookie year?
Yeah, look, that's what he told everybody. But, if you want to read into it, they said that maybe he was, supposedly working through a hamstring or things like that. I also look at it, too. There were 4 players that signed their deal, inked their name to the paper. I don't think Tyreek Williams was one of them. So, one of those deals where you just kind of maybe wait a little bit as well to kind of ink your name on the paper before you go full bore. But he said it's a team decision. I'll go with it. It would have been nice to see because that kind of it's happened before with Ennis Rakestraw. That's kind of how it took place. They want to ease him into it. So the Lions have done this before, but it could be a combination of things. I don't think that it's, nobody needs to panic about Tyreek. We talked to him. We saw him running. We saw him he did participate in some team portions that we saw. It just wasn't a lot. So he is on account to start. And I don't think there's anything at all to be worried about in terms of, we still got several months before things get into serious mode. But it would have been nice to have seen him. But look, here, what's his role? His role is going to be clog the middle, get out there pretty soon and compete to get out there and start day one. You would be a little bit disappointed if he does not get out there. And from what Ray Agnew said, that, look, clearly his strength, stop the run. Clearly continue the strength of the Detroit Lions, which is, hey, clog the middle, make sure that the opponents do not run and gain traction offensively. And then what was interesting was, and I'm curious to see it, we didn't ask him about it, but pretty soon, if we get a chance to, or if I get a chance to one-on-one, Ray Agnew said that, hey, he's got some sneaky moves in terms of pass rush. I want to see it. I want to see what that means, what that looks like. And no better test than going up against Frank Ragnow and Ratledge and Graham Glasgow. So he'll get his chance to kind of prove some things when camp starts. I do think he'll be a contributor. I think he'll be right up there with Reeder. Tyreek Williams should be somebody that, from his pedigree at Ohio State, you can expect that a player that can develop along the course like Ali McNeil did. That's the comp, and I think there's a good chance that he can reach that in a couple years.
And Doc, we like Hassanin in the 6th round this year. Okay, we like Mekhi Wingo, Christian Mahogany in the 6th round last year. But there's somebody in the 7th round this year, Doc, that I love. And Dan Jackson, the safety out of Georgia. And I think he's a wild card because of that situation with the safety depth. What did he look like? And then I kind of went on a little, not a rant, but I spoke on Dan Jackson. I think that, if he has a good camp, there's a very good shot that he could be the safety 3 or 4 in this room. Obviously, you're not starting over Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph, but who is behind him? So Dan Jackson, how did he look today? And what do you think it translates to year 1 for him?
Yeah, no, look, I think, clearly 7th rounders got an uphill climb. I think special teams clearly is the starting point, but freakishly athletic. He looks much more fluid than a lot of the other guys. You can see the difference between a guy that's confident, that can move around, that kind of understands what he needs to be doing. And he's just freakishly, aware of where he needed to be. And so his movement was great. Awareness was great. I just thought he looked like he belonged. He looked like, okay, I'm here. I'm here for business. I'm here to understand exactly where I need to be. His coverage skills look good. I thought that from where you look at it, if he can progress throughout the year and be someone that can be in a rotation with Branch and Kirby Joseph, that's great. But you're going to have an uphill climb over Lauren Strickland and others that have a little bit more experience. Outside of the top 2, the guys that are on the roster don't have a lot of game experience, but I do think that Strickland is a player that is going to compete at training camp. So he's got an uphill climb. I do think that the Lions are going to like the player that he becomes in a year or 2. So I don't think he'll struggle to make the roster. I do think the wide receiver, Lovett, might because of his size and the challenge. But I do think that, in my opinion, just looking at it as a whole, I think all 7 draft picks should make the roster in most 53-man roster projections. But Jackson is, you just look at him and you say, my goodness, he looks like a Lion. Competitive, goes to the whistle. And I think that he's going to want to compete right away. Once he gets that confidence going that, hey, I can compete at the highest level against the best on the Lions, man, I do think that he's going to bring a lot to the table. You should be excited because he screams Detroit Lions, gritty. Listen, when you have a chance for opportunities elsewhere and you then choose to decide to walk on at Georgia and you're asked about it and they say, hey, you had opportunities maybe to make a little bit more scratch somewhere else or get more guaranteed playing time. He said point blank to the camera, he said at the Zoom meeting when he got drafted, he said, I wanted to play the best. I wanted to know that when I went out and practiced that I was going up against the best, and there's no better university for me to top off my skills than at Georgia. So that just speaks to his mindset that he wants to be, and similar to Ahmed as well, that they don't want stuff handed to him. They want to compete against the best, and it feels better when you earn your spot. So for him to climb the ladder, I think he'll be, lower on the depth chart, but just like a lot of the draft picks, will have a chance to quickly rise up and perform when he gets the opportunity.
And Doc, the Lions faithful for God knows how long has been clamoring to get another edge rusher to go out, sign one, trade for one. Recently, sort of a big name became available via free agency, Jadeveon Clowney. Is that someone that you would expect the Lions to pursue, want them to pursue, or think that he, could fit in with this Lions team?
Man, it's an interesting one. I put out a video on the new Detroit Lions on SI YouTube channel, which you can check out for daily content. I'm all for it. I'm all for more. And I look at it and I say, I don't think he's going to command the $10 million that people think. I think that now at 32 years old, after being released, I think there's now the leverage is more with teams. So I would love to see that. Love to see him and Za'Darius and have a competition. I think that would help Ahmed. It would help everybody. Marcus Davenport, to have a veteran like that that's coming off of 5.5 sacks, that's seen it all, that has done a lot of different things across the league. I don't see a problem. And see, this is where people look at it and they say, well, his production has steadily dipped all across the way the last couple of years. You're 32 years old, but I look at it like you can never have enough depth at that spot. And you're going in with a young developmental player in Hassanian. And then you got Marcus Davenport, who the confidence level is not there that he's going to play all 18 games. So I'm of the opinion you load them up. But here's the thing. Just from today as well, Uku looked like he was an improved player. He looks faster. He looks like he's catching on as well. And also too, I want to keep an eye on this player too, because he stood out to me and a lot of people. We were huddling up and we're like, my goodness, this is a massive individual. Keith Cooper. He came in and
about to ask you about
6'5", 280, and he stands out. He's like, holy cow. He was doing some things against the offensive line that was just like blowing by people. I was like, all right, do your thing, man. Get yourself noticed. Everybody noticed him. And I looked at
he's
it.
He's out of Houston, right, Doc?
I believe so, yeah. I just was like, holy cow. I said, who's that? It wasn't a name that I had paid attention to too often, but he's a tryout player from Houston. Yep, absolutely. And you look at it from the defensive end position, the more competition you have, the better. But 32 years old, again, I've kind of been on the fence about that. But with a team that needs it, I don't think that you look at it and you have competition. That's just going to make everybody better, from Ahmed to Marcus to Derek Barnes, Uku, everybody. It just makes everybody better when you have some competition and a veteran. I mean, it doesn't hurt if you give them a prove it deal, short term. You're not going to give them big time money, so I don't see where it hurts. I don't get the idea of a locker room cancer, because I feel like the Lions are expert surgeons, and if there's a cancer, they cut it out. It's not like a guy's going to come in and just one guy that comes in is just going to sink the whole locker room. So my video said, do it. I don't see a reason why competition can't be great, but you have young guys that you could also make that claim with as well. So I could see why, okay, you go younger, you have guys you're trying out, you have young rookies that are coming in and need some time too. So any rep taken by a vet is one less for a rookie to develop. So it's it's a different philosophy, but in the end, I would say I want them to, but the odds of them doing it are pretty much slim to none.
What about another position? I mean, we've reviewed free agents, and I know edge is probably the more obvious one, but another position people bring up is safety. What do you think about the idea of maybe adding a safety? I mean, they drafted Dan Jackson, but does that they also added Avonte Maddox, which people say may play safety, but do you see them adding someone, or is it probably going to be a Maddox or a Dan Jackson type of thing?
Correct. I don't see that position being added. I would say another veteran would be on the offensive line, maybe another defensive lineman in the trenches as well would be the addition, but it's going to be tough. I do think that there's players on the practice squad that could take the next step up as well. So that's the part. That's the part that is intriguing, is when you look at the Lions' external philosophy, that it's curious to explore what the Lions could do between now and training camp. What position would they target? They seem pretty set at a lot of good spots. So I'm pretty satisfied with where they're at. You add depth, it wouldn't hurt, but safety wouldn't be one of them, because I feel like you got enough at that spot right now. You do want to give reps to Dan Jackson. So we'll see what happens.
And you just brought up Keith Cooper. Somebody else that I wanted to ask you about, Doc, just because I really just didn't have any knowledge of who he is. God, I just had the name pulled up. The defensive back out of Texas, Gavin. I'm blanking on the last name right now. But they brought the undrafted free agent out of Texas. He's a corner. What do you think he brings? Does he bring anything else? Just because I see that playing at Texas, got some play there. He's one of the best defenses in the country last year. Kind of surprising to see somebody like that go undrafted.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too, but I think the defensive back spot I think you're battling right now for a spot on the practice squad. You look at it and you say, Gavin Holmes might have a chance to get a spot for one of the 16 spots on the practice squad. I look at it like defensive backs are pretty good. I like what I see in Tyrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, the potential there. Amik Robertson's going to be great. You got DJ Reed. So it's going to be tough to crack that lineup. But yeah, you're right. There's reasons why different players fall for different reasons, but hey, you get a chance. That's what the great opportunity is that you get an opportunity to come up and make a name for yourself. And sometimes look, size, speed, intangibles, it's only really in the end, 200 spots is quite limited. It's quite an exclusive club, 250 spots. And so for those that don't, the undrafted free agent that caught my attention today was Jackson Meeks. I just think that the wide out there caught my attention because of the catch that he made and the money that they gave him too. You also look at how much money you get guaranteed. I think Jackson got a couple $100,000, so that kind of puts him in the elevated spot. So I'll keep tabs on a lot of these undrafted free agents when we get to OTAs. But early on, there were so few passing plays. I think there was maybe 7 total offensive plays with a pass, and 3-4 of them went to Isaac Tesla, and there were different people in coverage. I'll look at the sheet again. It's number 26 that was in coverage quite a bit. And, it was a good matchup early on. He got a pass breakup, but Isaac Tesla was ahead on most parts.
Hey, before Mike goes here, Corey asked you a question, Doc. He says, my question is, why did Doc call me a certain family member and not Ahmed's brother?
No doubt, Corey. I look forward to speaking with. I
noticed your ass
that,
out, Doc.
I'll say it's fun. Corey, I'm Lebanese. I like to troll a little bit, and I know that you were watching, so it's great. You never met an interview you didn't like, so I like that. I like that quite a bit. You shared a lot of good information with a lot of different people, and we truly thank you here in Detroit. But we'll see if you can handle my style of interviewing, and I don't want to get your brother in trouble. I don't want to get your brother in trouble because I don't lob cupcakes. I lob the direct facts, and I don't want to get nobody in trouble, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. So
fastballs only, Doc.
Once we hang out, get some kibbe and some hummus and tabbouleh, and if you ever get to Michigan, we'll have a good time, and we'll share some Middle Eastern stories. We have a very similar background with our families and everything like that. So I appreciate the love that you show and support for your brother. It's a great situation with your family, and man, being Middle Eastern is a privilege.
Go ahead, Mike.
Follow that up, Unc.
And Doc, now that the draft's over, offseason's kind of underway, who do you think is the biggest threat to the Lions in the NFC North? Now we got the Bears kind of coming up with Ben Johnson, new looks on their offense. You get JJ McCarthy with the Vikings, which I'm super excited about, and then you still have the Packers. Who do you think opposes the biggest threat to the Lions this coming year?
You know, that's a question. I've asked a lot of people that question. A lot of people think it's the Packers. A lot of people think that, okay, Jordan Love, if he takes a little bit of a bump up, they got the wide receiver that they were looking for. Potentially, their coach is upset that he keeps getting trolled by Ben Johnson and others and things like that. They have a good team. They have a solid situation. I would pay attention to the Packers, but, the Bears are just one of those teams where you go, man, I watched Colston Loveland, and he annoyed the shit out of me just watching him, because I screamed it in every podcast I was on or hosted. I said, if the Spartans could have just stopped Loveland, they would have been in games. But he just, and against other teams too, he was just one of those guys that when you called his number, he made the play. And everybody knew it. Like, I knew it. Everybody in the stands knew it. He was getting the football, and he was still targeted and made plays. Now, the executive that said he's going to be better than Sam Laporta, I think, was blowing smoke, but he brings a lot to the table. He's competitive. He's gritty, and I like what he can do. And if Ben Johnson sees something in him, that's going to be a problem for the Lions defense. And so I'm curious to see how Caleb Williams develops with Ben Johnson. I do not think that they're ready to have a winning team, but the Bears are going to be up there with 8 to 10 wins. And they may surprise some people in the division with a lot more wins. Ben Johnson is no clown. He's as hardworking as they come. And when you identify a need along the offensive line, and then you go target it in free agency and the draft, and you surround Caleb Williams with more offensive talent, man, the division is going to be a slobber knocker start to finish.
What a word.
Those 6 games are going to be tight. But I think the Packers, then the Vikings, then the Bears, but in a very, very small window there, I think the Lions are still the best, but the gap is closing. But I do think the Lions are going to win the division for the 3rd time in a row.
Well, speaking, is that your favorite green shirt? Coach asked.
Yeah. Listen, I am a man
question
that loves the color green, as this watch would indicate, is my favorite. It puts me in a great mood. I have several collared shirts. I love the color green. It represents what you guys all think. I'm also a diehard Spartan, and my favorite 2 colors are green and white together. But man, when I think of green, I just feel good. I feel like I talk better. I handle comments better. I feel great, especially after, when you work in the NFL, it does not literally stop. Like I went from rookie minicamp right to podcasting, right to editing video, right to doing another YouTube video, right to recapping everything I did. And it just, when you look good and feel good, you type good and podcast good as well. So give me green and I'll wear it all day long.
Well, speaking of slobber knocking or whatever you said, Doc, you got a question about the NFC North. Lucas went on this little tangent the other day, and he's been pretty.
Ask him about it, Fa. You better put me in good worth here.
He's been pretty consistent about the Rams being better than the Lions, just in terms of rankings preseason. He's high on the Rams. We posted on our TikTok, all Rams Nation was commenting on it. Yeah, they're better than the Lions. Where do you put the Rams? How do you think the NFC kind of? I know it's early, but just early. How do you think it's shaping up where the Lions are versus these other teams? Who's the team to beat, Doc? Because Lucas thinks it's the Rams.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll talk about it real fast, Corey. If you want one of these hats, no doubt. I got a couple dozen sitting in the basement, so I will. We use a printer. We use a service. A good friend
Etsy?
of Vito's. No, I do not use Etsy to get my hats. I use a company that prints, and I will get you one. No problem there. We'll talk for sure. Probably tomorrow I'll reach out, Corey, and we'll have a conversation. We'll share some laughs. The NFC, man, it's fun. I love it. I love what the Eagles did. They replenished 10 draft picks. Listen, until someone beats them, they're the world champs, and their cornerbacks are amazing. Jalen Hurts is emerging, and so they're the class of the division, and they're the class of the NFC until someone knocks them off. But where the Rams are at, my goodness, when you look at Jared Verse, you look at the defensive line that they put together. I love the moves that they made to get Matthew Stafford some more help. Devontae Adams is going to be a problem. I think that's a good signing for Matthew Stafford. I think they'll develop some chemistry pretty quickly. Look, they were close. They got a nice young running back. They got a good general manager that knows about talent, building in the trenches. You got a veteran quarterback. I think that's worthy of now discussion into maybe the opportunity to get his second ring. They were close. They were, some would argue, one play away from beating the Eagles. So that's going to be a problem. And so that's why my first reaction after the draft was hope for the future, because of great draft picks, great potential, but very intense fear for this one season in 2025. I don't know if the stars align for the Detroit Lions, with everybody getting a little bit better, with the Lions picking a couple more developmental players than ready-made guys. So I'm of the opinion that it's going to be a dogfight. And here's the thing: 10-7, 11-6 might put you in a wild card spot, might not put you as a division winner, especially in the likes of the NFC North. So you may be having to go on the road. I would rather, like I said, have as many games at Ford Field as humanly possible. And then the team that I just would also pay attention to is the Commanders. I mean, my God, they got a second-year quarterback in Jaden Daniels. They brought him some weapons too, helping him out with the offensive line. Scary Terry scares everybody, and they just have confidence now that they spanked you at Ford Field. So it's going to be a dogfight. But again, the Lions can come to the dogfight with some weapons of their own. And when you got the talent on offense that the Lions have, if they flourish and they're able to continue the chemistry with John Morton, look out. The NFC will be wild, and the Lions will be going toe-to-toe with all of them. The Lions have a chance. The Lions have as strong a chance of any, but you need luck. You need a lot of things to go well. You need Jamin to take a next step. You need John Morton to call the right plays with Sam Laporta, spread the football around. And then, when you got Goff, you always got to kind of just keep in the back of your mind that when you pressure Jared Goff, and if the offensive line just has one bad day, it's going to be a nightmare for Jared Goff. A Jared Goff game where he's not A+ is pretty scary. And it's always there. It's always in the back of your mind that which Jared Goff are you going to get in the playoffs? Because when the playoffs start, the competition goes up and all the defensive linemen are going to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. And so if you got young offensive linemen, if they, succumb to the moment, Mahogany, and if Graham Glasgow, continues maybe a swoon, that's a problem for Jared Goff. But listen, I do think that, real fast, I can't wait for Wednesday to see how that schedule shakes out. I want to see who's on Thanksgiving, which primetime games, how it lays out. Because if you start with like the Eagles,
the Eagles, Doc. Start with the Eagles. Come on.
If you start with the Eagles, then you get to the Chiefs, then you hit the Ravens, then you hit to, a division foe. That shit you could, that can start your season off in a crazy manner. So you need that. Those tougher games. You need the Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens, Bengals. You need them from week 5 on, because that first month is basically extended training camp with how things are, and especially with the Lions starting early, things are all different. It's just different than in years past. Starting on July 31st with the preseason game, that means training camp is July 15th. The schedule is all different. All that disruption, I'm not a fan of.
Doc, I was told that week 1 we want the Eagles.
You did?
Yeah, we do.
You kind of laid up though. You touched on it, Doc.
You're smart. You're smart to maybe want to avoid it. Maybe get in there with a cupcake early on. Get in there with Dallas.
Why don't we get a bye week? Why don't we prepare? I mean, we talk about that's a huge game when it comes to NFL.
You have all offseason to prepare if it's week 1.
Oh yeah, so do they. My goodness.
And you're the most healthy.
Either way, Doc. This offensive line, we saw, especially late in the season, to your point, when the Lions didn't look good offensively. You look at Houston, the Commanders, there's a couple games, especially early on, offensive line wasn't up to the standard. Do you think that this offensive line is going to be better in 2025 or worse than they were in 2024?
No, they're going to be better. They're going to be better. Penei Sewell, 2 words. Penei Sewell is going to continue to dominate. I think you went younger along the offensive line. I think that Hank Fraley is going to want to continue that consistency. I do think Mahogany will be better than what Graham Glasgow brought to the table. Again, you just got to hope that Taylor Decker stays a little bit healthier. And I do think that this offensive line will try their absolute best, because that was a nasty taste that Washington game. When you go back, and I don't know why I'm like an idiot, I go back and watch it 2-3 times, and you see how bad Glasgow played and how rough they made Jared Goff's life. And someone in the comments said, well, yeah, Jared Goff's been good against the blitz in the regular season. Yeah, there's a lot of secondaries that don't measure up, and you can pick that apart. I'm talking about ferocious defensive lines that with linebackers that are coming at you when they finish, like they finished against Jared Goff and they took their shots. So when he got dinged up the middle there, that was it. That was the game. He was not the same quarterback. So that's a different level. The regular season's one thing. He'll put up numbers. He could put up 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns. When you're in the postseason, you're going up against 2 defensive linemen potentially on most teams that are pretty serious, that are stout, and that potentially can get to the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see when you get to the good teams how it shakes out. But I do think it has to be the Lions will be luckier on the injury front. I do believe. And then by that point, the rookies will be much further along, much more able to contribute. So I can't wait for this season to start. It's going to be a great 18 weeks. But one of your commenters said it just right. It's going to be ridiculously intense. Great comment.
Yeah, Doc, kind of sticking on the Goff and the offense conversation. Who do you believe is under more pressure going into next season, Jared Goff or John Morton? Obviously, you have Goff losing Ben Johnson, but he's been very familiar with this offense. It's been damn near catered to his skills, but, he loses Ben Johnson. And then you have the pressure of John Morton coming in, being the new OC here and taking over for a top 3, top 1, whatever you want to call it, offense in the league. Obviously, I think Jared Goff, even losing Ben Johnson, he knows how this offense has been ran over these past couple of years. I don't really think that they should miss a beat with him and all these pieces really standing or being at a standstill, even with the new OC. So in my opinion, I think there's still more pressure on Jared Goff because the situation has been catered to him, and you knew that Ben Johnson was eventually going to leave. But I would just like your opinion on that.
Yeah, no doubt. This new guy asked some good questions. Maybe we should get him out of the doldrums of hockey and getting him into talking football. Talking hockey puts stress on you and makes everybody all pissed off. But great question, really great question to think about. I disagree. Jared Goff's a veteran. I do think that a lot of this offense is going to be tailor-made and pretty much a staple of his offense. The point that you make, which is what has now been talked about, he's going to have more ownership of the offense. He's going to be able to kind of walk up to the line and have some plays that he can maybe have more control to check out of or check into. And he's continuously grown into that. So I expect that pressure will be there for him. The pressure is going to be on Morton to make sure that he gets the right calls to Jared Goff. And the reason why is that, Jared Goff had the biggest failure in the Super Bowl, but John Morton had a failure in New York where he lost the team in the locker room. The players were not happy that he was, I think he abandoned the run too much or did some things that just impacted the locker room to the point where they were not happy. But that was, again, inexperience. He didn't know. And he also said that he didn't have his guys to be there to back him up and support what he needed to do. So once it unraveled and it didn't work out, he lost the team and he was dismissed. So his opportunity now will be to make sure that, and what Ben Johnson did was he had masterful recall of the history of a lot of the opponent's tendencies, and he was able to exploit it. So to me, the pressure is more on John Morton because you have a Ferrari and your job is not to crash it. Because, and that was interesting, Ben Johnson said that, basically anybody, this is ready-made. Anybody can come in and handle it. So if you're John Morton and you come in and you crash the car, that's going to be a big problem and everyone's going to point to you. And you don't want that to happen. But I think he'll steady the ship. He'll call good games, and he'll in those critical moments make sure that the offense purrs and does what it needs to do. I feel like I feel like it's going to be a very, very rewarding offensive season for the fans and the Lions.
Did you see John Morton and Calvin out there today? And what kind of just how I know a lot of these coaches, I saw Nolan Bianchi put out something about Tashard Choice. Like, did you kind of get a good vibe from these coaches out there, Doc, today? Did you see Johnny Moe and Calvin? How were they operating?
Yeah, it was great. Tashard Choice, a lot of energy. If there was a rep that he didn't like, perfect wise, he said, hey, don't loaf and get after it again. And he's got good energy, and he seems, and here's the benefit of the doubt that he gets. He's a former player that had success in the league and had a lot of marquee discussion regarding his position and what he did at his former spot. So he comes with respect. So yeah, he's chirping. He's high energy, and we were standing on that side to see the work that he did, and he was coaching up the guys, riling them up, and you can see clearly, and that's what Ahmed brings. That's what a lot of the Lions bring, is their excitement to be there. Like, he was into it. He was into the basic drills that were out there. And if he saw something he didn't like, he's like, hey, we don't loaf around here. We got to handle our business, do it right. And that's all you could ask for, is a coach that will be energetic, will work hard, will coach up the talent, and has the respect. He walks in instantly with respect because of the work that he did with Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's just a great hire. The coaching staff replacements, to be honest, you couldn't really ask for better. I think Calvin Shepard, John Morton, the experience, David Shaw coming in, Bruce Gradkowski also is now in the mix as well. I like it. I like Tashard Choice, and you're reading all the features that you're going to see. Great coaching staff. I don't see a big drop off with the level of coaching and development from the roster.
And as it sits right now, Doc, 9:30 around May 9th, 2025, still no Zadarius Smith signing. Is it fair to say that we can kind of shut the door on this saga? Because I feel like every week we're talking about it. It's like, wouldn't he have just been signed already? But what's your opinion on that?
No. Same opinion as I've shared. I think he signs in September. I think he's like, I'm good. I'm vacationing. I'm hanging out with Catch Doll. I don't want to be around no sweaty dudes at training camp. What the hell? He knows the deal. So I think it's an easy situation to assess. I think he is a potential Lion, and there's an offer on the table for him. If he wants to ink it, he'll sign it. But he is playing the leverage game, in my humble opinion, like I've said, that if there's a player that goes down during training camp for a contender that puts him in a position where they need him and are a little bit desperate, that could boost him from $4 million to $6 million. And that could boost him from a contract probably the Lions gave that's probably has a lot of incentives versus some more guaranteed dollars. So right now, the leverage is in team's favor. And so Zadarius is a veteran. He's sitting back. There's no rush. He saved his money. You saw that he's flashing. He went overseas, had a great trip with Cash Doll. I don't think football is exactly at the top of his mind. And I think he's enjoying life. And when you're 30, he doesn't need training camp. Like, he'll do the work. He'll keep himself in shape. And when the time comes in September, he'll decide. And I think there's still a chance that it could be the Lions. Fairly good chance because of the relationship. But if another team has an injury or an unexpected situation at defensive end, he'll take a look at it. So it's a situation in which you don't want to grind in the summer when you don't have to. And it's one of those deals where sometimes the less wear and tear on his body will be good for Za'Darius if he comes back, because do you really want him battling against Ahmed and the Lions offensive line and battling and grinding, all that stuff? No, you want him resting, come back in September fully ready, ease into the season, and have you in peak operating mode in November and December. You don't want that. So I do think I just got a feeling he'll be back with the Lions. It just kind of feels that way, right? But I do feel he'll be back in the league. But I'm curious to see when he does sign. But I don't see it anytime soon. And I get that people want to talk about it, but I would say focus on the free agents that come available, see what's out there, and keep that in the back of your mind. But the level of urgency is a little bit higher in the fans than it is for Brad Holmes. He ain't making it a priority right now.
Doc, you, by the way, I listened to Ragnu speak to the media, and he didn't necessarily like your 30 trade question, I guess, even though
actually that was hilarious. I'm gonna talk about that.
Dive into that, because that was hilarious.
So it's early in the morning. I wake up at 6 o'clock. I do my reading. I get my prep, right? So clearly I see the flow of how the conversation is going to go from the other media, right? And I had the idea, I had a couple of things presented that I wanted to ask that was kind of already touched upon with philosophy and stuff like that. So I'm like, my thought went to, it sounded like the Lions and Brad Holmes were clearly very aggressive in wanting to trade up. It didn't happen. And I said to Ray, there's a report out there that the Lions tried to trade 30 times in this draft. He's like, huh? No, we didn't. Well, here's the crazy part. It wasn't a report. Brad Holmes said it directly. So right. I should have said that. I don't know why he dismissed it and took it that way. So it's actually funny. So when I said, Christian, that was out there, right? Because sometimes you're like, you think, wait a minute, was I accurate? Did someone say that? He's like, yeah, Brad said that on the radio. So why did he dispute that? Because it's fact. Brad said it. So I look at it like, he didn't want to put that out there that they tried and failed. So clearly he maybe told a tale, which I get. I mean, I clearly know that there's times that they tell tales, or he just wanted to not put out there that they were unsuccessful in efforts. And guys, okay, I do want to say this because I know a lot of listeners and commenters don't have the understanding that these guys lie right to my face all the time. And because I ask direct questions and, to be honest, I could ask, hey, was there an edge rusher in the fourth round you tried to trade up for? They're going to say no. You know what I mean? They're going to say, oh, we love Tesla. They're going to shift it toward that. But they were trying to get, Brad Holmes said several times, we tried to get players that we feel. So you think the Lions loved more than 7 guys. Okay. I promise.
And they love trading. They love trading.
They had a board and they got guys. And so that's why when they talk to the media, when they say those things and they discuss it, yes, they always say they love the guys that they picked. They're not going to say, oh my God, I took a 7th rounder and I'm a little bit nervous he wasn't there. They're never going to say that in public. So Ray kind of told maybe a little bit of a tale to me. That's fine. I don't take it personally. But really more seriously was the tail end of my question was, well, was it more difficult to maneuver around the draft because it seemed like the Eagles were interested in making a trade, but if the Lions tried to trade 30 times, it would indicate that a lot of teams didn't want to go as far back as where the Lions were, making it a little bit harder to maybe get the guys that they wanted. And I felt like he would have acknowledged that, but he said, no, we did. He focused on the Tesla deal. But again, Brad said we tried to trade up 30 times for what? Think about it. What do you think he tried to get? Come on, guys. And it's one of those deals where I understand that game of PR where in 8 years, a lot of the questions I ask get deflected or diverted in a way where, I'm not answering that, Doc. Thanks for asking.
Hey, What's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.